Most people keep on getting rugged by projects promising massive returns. And if that's you, and it probably is, here is a video that will help you pick out good projects based on how they're pitching to their audience being you. Good, clear communication is key to success, and this is how it's done. Crypto is expanding faster than ever. Every day, new projects appear, each one claiming to be the next big thing. Some have real potential, others not so much. And in the middle of this chaos, one place has become the battlefield for attention, which is X. This is where the conversation happens, where narratives are made, and where hype spreads like wildfire. To win the spotlight, projects pay KOLs to promote them. And because people trust these voices, they follow suit. They click, they engage, and sometimes they buy in. But here's the thing. In a market this fast, trust can be misplaced. So how do you know what is real, what a KOL actually likes, versus just paid noise? Recently, there was a project everyone was talking about. It had many influencers backing it, fancy graphics, and of course, a pre-sale. But here's the kicker. The KOLs were shilling and selling a project that the creators, the actual team, weren't even promoting. And what I mean by that is the team didn't have a pitch deck. They didn't have live streams. They didn't have a whole lot of information. All they had was a very cool video done in After Effects. And something done in After Effects with a really good editor would take 4 hours. So that was their hype. The result? It was a pre-sale that didn't even sell half of its target. Like, I think 20%, maybe even less. Within hours, the project doubled the tokens people would be getting in the pre-sale. This meant the FTV went from 66 million to 33 million. And I think that's pretty obvious. The project had a rough start. Now, a quick little asterisk. This project could do well. I hope it does well. But their content strategy was just stupid. Now, you don't want all content to be the same. Content does need to be varied. But if you are hyped about something on Twitter, and then you can't see the actual something, and then someone can't do any due diligence, then, like, let's be honest, that person's just shilling you something. And if you've been around for a little bit of time, this just gives you PTSD to 2017 and 2021 with the NFT vibes, and even recently with the meme coins that are all going to go to $200 billion or whatever Murad Mehmedov says. The reality is these quickly trend to zero. Now in crypto, there's one piece of advice which I think is the most important, and that is build something that will make people money. If you do that, you have product market fit. Not everyone can do that. You're going to have some builders that are doing something like that and some that will not. But if you do make something like that, then you're probably going to be pretty technical and it's going to be related to DeFi. It will have product market fit, I would assume, and it has the chance to create revenue. However, you're probably going to need some sort of an awareness campaign to start things off. Now, if you want an awareness campaign, you can use someone like Choose Rich. This person makes fantastically cringy videos, which people will watch. Or a personal favorite, Clemente, and is dancing and is singing. But then what? Would you use these people to shill your token or to say how amazing it is that they're doing something with their token? They don't do deep dives. They don't go over tokenomics. And of course, nothing is ever financial advice. And I like these people. I'm just referring to the fact that you need varied content. Maybe they do the awareness campaign. And then you, as the founder, you do some sort of podcast and it gets clipped. But my personal favorite is, ideally, show why the product exists, how to use it, the problem it's solving, and how your end user can benefit from it. Or more simply, drive people to your product, make revenue. From my experience, consuming a whole lot of content, and my team's experience, we really value quality reviews. And I think it's very important to do what Web 2 does, but better, because Web 3 is just a more permissionless version of Web 2. And if we ignore everything that happened in Web 2 content to create our own style, well, then you just have shilling and exit liquidity. And like, basically, it's easy to understand why people say crypto is a scam. So if it's not abundantly obvious, do not go with KOLs shilling your token. So video content, explainers, podcasts, clips of you saying cool stuff, some live streams, that's really good. But one of my favorites, and something I haven't done very much of, infographics. Clear, concise, colorful. Don't expect someone to go and read a 20-page white paper or go through your docs. Hire someone, give them the information, tell them to go and make something really, really cool that imparts that information to someone that can look at it, want to read it, and then read it and then think, wow, this is cool. Now, most projects out there have no value, but many projects of that most, they do have value, but they just cannot communicate it. And even if they're asked a question on X, they don't reply. So content is also replying to people asking you questions on X. It should be so simple to understand. Yet people don't. Instead, there's this stupid thing which makes people think that they're not valuable to reply to. They don't have enough followers. They don't have a blue tick. Therefore, they don't have money to spend on whatever it is I'm trying to sell them. How does that work? You have no idea how much money they have. They may just ask a good question. What should you do? Answer it. Ideally, link an infographic. Ideally, link a video which covers it. And then ask them to reach out if they've got more questions. If you did that, you've created more value than like 99% of projects out there that just never reply. Now, I'm going to give you some examples of content gone right. First one is Meteora. The LPers make $1 million a day in fees. They've got everything organized so that people can learn. And then the team smartened up very quickly. They started with live streams, and then they went with professional videos. They've got a professional team that they've contracted to do lighting, sound, video, editing, and even some scripted videos as well. And if you didn't know, Meteora is the most successful liquidity pool dApp on Solana, and it's one of the most profitable in all of crypto. However, that's not very fair for me to talk about Meteora, given that they've had years of learning. They have some of the same team as Jupiter, and Jupiter's been around since Mercurial Finance. That's 2021. They started building in 2020, around that. So in other words, they've got 5 years of experience and they still get things wrong, like everyone. So instead, I'm going to give you something that's a couple of weeks old in terms of content, or more accurately, a couple of days old in terms of real, actual content drive. Loyal. This is a private artificial intelligence project which is launched with MetaDAO in a permissionless ICO. Permissionless meaning they're not getting the team from MetaDAO to help and to curate everything. It's permissionless. Now, they focused on transparently building and communicating quite clearly. And they did it in a way which I didn't even think would have had as much success as it did. But it did. They kind of went Mr. Beast. They did 2 24-hour live streams in the span of 3 days. So 24 hours of streaming. And this hustle was the deciding factor that pulled in capital. They had over $70 million raised for their ICO. Now, they didn't need that much, so they only took $2.5 million and the rest was refunded. And like, this is just stage one. They haven't won anything yet. They need to build their product and they need to keep up the content and make it better. No one's going to watch a 24-hour live stream. But this was a good example of doing the hustle. Now they have to come up with some infographics, some weekly or fortnightly blogs on what they managed to get done, and show UI changes and shipping and keep people updated, because people in crypto are smarter now. They want to find projects that have value. So another bit of advice, content is not just when you want to raise funds. It's always. And that's what great content creators are all about. We help shine a light on good projects, the ones that are real, useful, and building for the long term. When you find these creators, like myself, work with them. Give them what you're trying to achieve and be transparent. Take on their feedback as well, because they've been dealing with lots of projects. The good ones have anyway. Personally, I have onboarded hundreds of thousands of people into crypto. My style is tutorials, it's transparency. It's essentially breaking down complex things and making it very, very obvious. And as a result of doing this for a long time, I've earned the trust with my team of tens of thousands and many, many dApps across the ecosystem. But at the same time, you wouldn't use someone like me for an awareness campaign. I'm never going to be able to do a funny little jig and a nice little song. I know like the lyrics to Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, and for some reason, that's it. So go find bangers and have her run around doing funny stuff because it's funny. And then use somebody else that can convey what it is you're trying to convey. Now, you don't always have to be serious either. Sometimes you can have a little bit of fun. You might not like some things that are happening on crypto Twitter, and you might want to poke fun at them. But you don't want to poke fun at them in a serious way. You want to do it in a fun way. Check out the MetaDAO animations. This is what my team has been putting out for many, many months now. And this is really, really cool because it's clever, it's an awareness campaign, and it manages to put in a little bit of information and some Easter eggs to make it exciting. So people actually being educated on MetaDAO and then being actually introduced to the founders, but it's entertaining. Animations take a whole lot of work, but they have a broader audience. There's a lot of people that have watched Simpsons and Family Guy and Rick and Morty, all these. So you take that kind of feel and you make it just really, really clever. You are most likely part of a team or a founder if you've watched it this far, and you need your audience to grow. So you need to either make or get made content. You can find content creators on YouTube, you can find them on X, and you can find them in the Solana Collective. You can also find them on Super Team, but also you can find them via word of mouth, or you can just see something and think, I like this. This looks pretty damn cool. Hey, are you open to working with me in the future? There are also KOL agencies. I get reached out to by KOL agencies all the time, and I just ignore them because they are pretty damn shilly. You may find some use there, but I personally think they're very, very extractive. In my opinion, if somebody wants to see crypto improve, they will partner with really plus EV plays, dApps and projects which they really, really like. And then they can help to push that brand further. If you go with a KOL, you pay for 5 tweets, you get 5 tweets. So if you want to make a difference in this space, then don't go down the same route that essentially is just exit liquidity. And now let's end with a call to action. Go and make some content or get some content made. Now let's wrap all this up. I made this video for founders and for team members so that they could work on pushing out transparent information to the community. However, there's another angle. This is why I've added this on. So essentially, you as a retail person, you want to buy into these things or you want to use these things. You want to go and use all these DeFi things, but not get rugged by bad smart contracts and whatnot. So now you can look at all the content that we've gone over, and it gives you a much better understanding of if something is worth the risk. And if it's not worth the risk, then of course you can stay away. The other thing is, if something's really, really good, like Camino, but then they're not doing anything for their token, that's fine. Maybe that means you use the product, but it's not a token you want to go and accumulate. Similar thing with Jupiter. You might want to use Jupiter a lot, but the actual token, and I'm not trying to FUD anything, so let's not take that out of context. But given that there's not been any transparency on the token itself, and we're going to see this with a whole lot more ecosystems, Mega ETH, Monad, Base is going to go push out a whole lot of stuff. You do not want to be on the other side where you use this exit liquidity. And before you even use this exit liquidity, you want to make sure that whatever you're getting yourself involved in, and hopefully it's just using something that you already like, and then you end up getting an airdrop to start off with, something like Meteora. Whatever you start with, you want to make sure that you're confident that they can execute. And I'm going to be covering a lot more in terms of MetaDAO ICOs. But once again, we have the situation where content is very, very important. There's a large number of people that are going to come in and just expect a 2x just off the bat. And that's just like free money is just not free money, right? Like not everything gives away free money. So you need to look and see which is a team that is shipping and communicating what they're shipping, because that's how you manage to convince those people that cannot research. And sometimes you can research and you still can't even get the information. So if you take all this information, you will be able to very clearly, and we can maybe even make a checklist, you'll be able to clearly see what I should stay away from and what would be worth the risk. And every now and then, of course, there'll be something that's worth the risk that we miss out on. There'll be something that had good content, but then they messed up their tokenomics. And that could happen, of course. But at least this is another tool to steer you in the right direction in terms of growing your portfolio. Once again, nothing's financial advice, but I feel that this is probably the smartest thing you could do to amplify your choices of success. Thanks for watching. Catch you in the next one.